So we're going to practice more of the snowflake, but what I wanted to change today a little bit, is all of the factoring we did before with the snowflake. What was your A value?
1.
This time we're going to have different A values. Occasionally. Not all the time, but occasionally. Okay? So, step 1, every single time we do this, step 1 is what? See what's in common. That's always step 1. Do they have something in common that they can factor out? By the way, while I'm thinking about it, we're going to have a quiz over this stuff tomorrow. Not the stuff with the different A values, but taking out what they have in common and doing the snowflake with an A value of 1. That's what's going to be on your quiz tomorrow. Okay? So that is documented. Your quiz is tomorrow, September 5th, 2018. It's now on YouTube for everyone to hear. Okay. So, factor each completely. My first question is always, do they have anything in common? Do these guys have anything in common? M squared, 7m, 8. They don't all have an m. There's not a number they can all do. So let's go ahead and snowflake. What goes on the top of my snowflake? A times c. So 1 times negative 8 is negative 8. What goes on the bottom? 7. I need two numbers that multiply to get negative 8 and add to get 7. What would those two numbers be? 1 and 8 multiply to get 8. They will add to get 7. How will they multiply to get 7?
Negative.
If there's a negative where? On the 1. Does it matter that I put it on the 1 instead of the 8? Yes, because if I put it on the 8, they don't add to get 7. They add to get negative 7. And that's a problem. All right, what goes up here? You take your m squared and you split it in 2. M and m. Oh, those sound good right now, don't they? What's my first parentheses? M minus 1 and m plus 8. That is like what you should be able to do at this point. That is like what you might see on tomorrow's quiz. Okay? Number 2 is also like one you might see on tomorrow's quiz because it doesn't look like the A value is 1, but what do all of these have in common? A 2. Right? What would be left inside? N squared plus 3n minus 108 divided by 2 is 54. Okay. So now I can snowflake this part. What's going to go on the top? Negative 54. On the bottom? 3. Okay, I need two numbers that multiply to get 54 and add to get 3. I'll play around with the negative signs in a little bit. 54, I know divided by 2 is 27. 27 and 2 not going to get me 3. What if I did 54 divided by 3? 3 and 18? Not going to get me 3, are they? 54 divided by, what should I try? 6? 6 and 9? I think we have a winner. Okay, now I'll play around with my negatives. They have to multiply to get negative 54, so one of them has to be negative, right? How can they add to get 3? If the 6 is negative, that'll get me the positive 3. What do I put on top? I take the n squared, I split it up to n and n. So I have n minus 6 and n plus 9. And I can't forget what? The 2 that I took out in that first step. Unfortunately, if you forget that 2, I do have to take off a point. Okay? I know. Well, the problem's worth 2 points, so it's like 50% of the problem. Now, can you check your work? Yes, we talked about that, and I said you probably won't check your work on your homework. But on a test or a quiz, such as tomorrow, it would probably be wise to check your work. So let's go ahead and check our work on this one. If I take this, I'm going to ignore the 2 for a minute, and I'm just going to multiply this out. N times n is n squared. N times 9 is 9n. Negative 6 times n is negative 6n. And negative 6 times positive 9 is negative 54. When I combine my like terms, I have n squared plus 3n minus 54. Now I'm going to multiply that 2 through. 2n squared plus 6n minus 108. That should be the original problem. It is, so I know I factored it correctly. Okay? If you take the time to do that, you will know what your grade is before you walk out the door tomorrow, because you'll know whether you got them right or wrong. Okay? All right, so you try number 3. So let's see. Nothing in common, right?
No.
What goes on the top? 60. What goes on the bottom? What are 2 numbers that multiply to get 60 and add to get negative 16? Negative 10 and negative 6. Does it matter if you put negative 6 and negative 10 instead of negative 10 and negative 6? No, order doesn't matter. Okay? Take the p, split it up. So I have p minus 10 and p minus 6. Okay? So? That's all you had to do. Now we get into number 4. Number 4 is like one of the newer ones that I'm adding today. Okay? So, is there anything they have in common?
No.
No. So let's go to the snowflake. Ah! What goes on top? I pressed too hard to write with these pencils. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. What goes on the bottom? Negative 14. Now I fill out the snowflake the same way. The only difference was this isn't that number, it's A times C. So what are my 2 numbers that'll multiply to get negative 15 and add to get negative 14? 15 and 1, and which one has to be negative? The 15. Now here's one thing that'll change here. Whatever your A value was, in this case it was 5, that has to go on top along with the n squared that you're splitting up. So I actually have to put 5n on the top of both. Okay? Now, this is a fraction. Can it be reduced?
Yes.
What is it reduced to? N over negative 3. That's the one I'm going to make my parentheses out of. Can this one be reduced?
No.
Okay, so my 2 parentheses are n minus 3 and 5n plus 1. Okay, so it's still pretty much the same process. I have to remember to put that A value up here and then reduce any fractions. Let's check this one since this is the first time we've done one like this. N times 5n is 5n squared. N times 1 is n. Negative 3 times 5n is negative 15n. And negative 3 times positive 1 is negative 3. When I combine my like terms, I get 5n squared minus 14n minus 3, which was the original problem, so I know I factored it correctly. Ready to do that again? Number 5. Do they have anything in common?
No.
Doesn't look like it, so we go straight to the snowflake. These numbers are a little trickier, aren't they?
Yeah.
What's going to go on the top?
60.
5 times 12, which is 60. And on the bottom? Okay, so let's see. 60 divided by 3 is 20, right? Look at that. 3 and 20,
Wow.
right? But both of them have to be
Yeah.
negative. Okay, what do I put on the top?
5B.
5b. Make sure you put that a value with it. Can 5b over negative 3 reduce?
No.
So one of my parentheses is 5b minus 3. Can 5b over negative 20 reduce?
Yes.
To what? b over... So the other parentheses is b minus 4. So? Okay. Let's look at number 6 then. Do they have anything in common?
Yeah.
They have at least 2. Do they have 4 in common?
No.
No, 42 and 26 aren't divisible by 4. So if I take out a 2, what's left inside? 2x squared plus 13x plus 21. So wherever I write my answer, I have to have a 2 in front, and then I'll have my 2 parentheses, right? So there's my answer all set up and ready to go. So let's do our snowflake. What's going to go on the top? 2 times 21, right? 42. On the bottom? 13. What are 2 numbers that multiply to get 42 and add to get 13? 6 and 7. Do I have to worry about any negatives? No, because everything's positive. And what goes on top? The x squared breaks up, but I can't forget what? The 2. The a value has to go there also. So, one of these fractions can reduce, one of them cannot. Which one cannot?
The 2 over 7.
2x plus 7 is going to be one of my parentheses. See, I write too hard. The other one can reduce. What does it reduce to?
3.
X over 3, so that becomes x plus 3. There's my answer. Not too bad. Same process, just trying to get you fluent with the process. What's the hardest step for you? Usually the hardest step is coming up with the 2 numbers that multiply to get the top and add to get the bottom. That's the one where you have to stop and think a bit. All right, let's look at number 7. Do they have anything in common? 6, 19, and 36. I'm thinking not because 19 is primed, right? So unless they had 19 in common, there's nothing I can do. So this one is going to have some larger numbers, and I'm going to show you how to kind of guess and check with those if we can. So what's going to go on the top? 6 times negative 36, negative 216. I'm going to show you how to deal with this. Don't be afraid of big numbers. You got a calculator. Nobody likes big numbers until it comes to their paycheck.
Exactly.
And don't you want to make sure that you're getting what you need to get and not be afraid of the big numbers? All right. So I have I need to find 2 numbers that multiply to get negative 216 and add to get 19. I'm not going to worry about the negatives right now. I'm just going to try and find 2 numbers that are 19 apart from each other so that I know I can play around with negatives. So 216, I know it's divisible by 2. Are 2 and 108 19 apart?
No.
No. Okay. How about divided by 3? 3 and 72. No, but closer.
Yeah.
Right? 4 and 54. Still getting closer. So we're going in the right direction. Can't divide by 5, right? Can I divide by 6? 6 and 36.
No.
Getting closer. Can I divide by 7? I don't even know if I can. Nope, doesn't divide by 7. 8? 8 and 27. Those are 19 apart, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay. There's my 2 numbers. 8 and 27. Ah!
They both have to be
Okay. Which one has to be negative?
both.
If they're both negative, they're not going to multiply to get 216. Think about this. I'm trying to get a positive 19. which means the bigger number has to be positive, the smaller number has to be negative. So that I end up with positive. Okay, let's look at this. What goes on the top? 6n and 6n. Now, we made these three at the end have bigger numbers in them. So I want to show you something on your calculator. I don't remember if I showed you this last week or not. But some things we might make mistakes on reducing these fractions, right? So I'm going to use the fraction button on my calculator. This is my fraction button. See, it says A, B over C. That's a mixed number right there. It's a number and a fraction next to it. So watch what I'm going to do. 6 over 8. I'm going to ignore the negatives for right now. But if I do 6 and then that fraction button and 8 and I hit enter, my calculator reduces it for me, which means that's one less mistake I have to worry about making. So 6n over negative 8 would reduce to 3n over negative 4. And then 6n over 27, I think 6 over 27 reduces too, because you can divide by 3, and you get 2n over 9. So one of my parentheses is 3n minus 4. The other one is 2n plus 9. And there's my answer. Can I check it? Absolutely. I can always multiply it to see if it works. Okay? All right, you try number 8. You might want a calculator because you're going to be dealing with some sort of big numbers. Okay? But what's nice about number 8 is there's nothing in common, right? So you don't have to worry about that part. So I have negative 720 on the top and negative 29. What I like about 720 is it's divisible by 10, right? 10 and 72, but I know that that's not going to get me 29. But if it's divisible by 10, there's other options too. It could be divisible by 20, right? Let's see, 720 divided by 20. 20 and 36, not going to get me 29. 720 divided by, I think I can divide by 30 even. 30 and 24, not going to get me 29. I think I might have gone too far.
Yeah.
Did I? Because those seem further apart. So let's see, 22? Nope. 23? Nope. 24? And 30? Getting there. 26, 28. I don't think I'm going in the right direction, am I? Let's see, what if I did 35? Nope. 36 and 20. We're at 50 apart, aren't we? No. 36 and 20, 16 apart. Okay. 34. No. 38. Has anyone found it yet? 37. 40. 40 and 18. 16 and what? So I was getting close. I was at 40, so once I get to 45. And 16. Okay. Now, you will not have a test full of problems like that where it's difficult to find them. But when you come across one like that, just keep at it. You can keep hitting divide on your calculator many, many times. Don't give up just because it's big numbers. Okay? So 45 and 16, which one needs to be negative?
Um,
45 or 16, which one needs to be negative? 45 in order to get negative 29. What do I put on the top? 10x and 10x. So, got to reduce my fractions. 10 over 45 reduces to 2/9. So that's 2x over negative 9. So one parentheses is 2x minus 9. 10x over 16, I think I can cut both of those in half and get 5x over 8. So 5x plus 8. So? All right. I want you to take a minute and try the last one. I will give you one hint, and that hint is there is something they have in common that you can take out to start, which will make your numbers in your snowflake smaller. So I like getting my answer set up so that way I don't have to remember the 2 later. So I just get everything in line there. 9 times 20, what's 9 times 20? 180. And on the bottom? What are my 2 numbers? What's the easiest way to make 180? 10 and 18, right? Doesn't that get you 28? Nine x and 9x. 9x over 10 is not going to change. 9x over 18 becomes x over 2. And that's what my answer should look like. Okay. So again, let's see. Your quiz tomorrow, I'll move it back up in just a minute. But your quiz tomorrow would be like 1, 2, 3... mainly 1, 2, 3, as well as the notes that we did on Thursday and Friday. Okay? There won't be any of these where you have that a value not equaling 1. Okay? All right. Happy studying.